All the talk about change, and we've always had intelligent, talented people on the school committee, and yet things haven't always gone so well. So my question is, how do you actually see a way to change something? What would you do differently than what the last school committees of the last 20 years have been doing? Actual things that will really, because we've been hearing change and change and change, but what things would you do differently that will actually bring about these changes that us?
You want to go ahead? I think that the most important thing for us to do is, well, the most important thing that we have right now to do is to hire a superintendent who is top-notch, who is an innovator, who is an educational leader, who is going to truly embrace change. And so I want a superintendent to come into Newton who really does help to heal the community, because I think that the rifts that are in this community right now are standing in the way of us moving ahead and using our creative problem-solving hat to be able to deal with what is objectively a tremendous challenge that we're facing. So one thing I would say to embrace change is to bring in a superintendent who's a change agent who will embrace change. I think another thing that we have to do to embrace change is that we have to change the way we work with our union. We have to negotiate with our union in a collaborative, win-win way that where both the school committee and the union leadership and the union membership are on the same page about the fact that we have love for our teachers, we want the best for our students, but we do not have a sustainable economic model, and we have to work differently, think differently, and we need to basically find a way to make changes in what we do so that we have a fiscally sustainable educational model.
Okay, so I agree with some of what Claire said, but I disagree a little bit. I agree that our new superintendent needs to unify the district around where we're heading and what the goals are for the system. But I disagree that it's up to this new leader to decide where that is. As I understand it, the state created school committees to, that's not what you intended to say?
That's not what I said.
Oh, okay.
But go ahead.
Sorry.
No, I understand the role of the school committee is to set direction for the superintendent.
As I understand it, the school committee sets the goals, and what I'd like to see is the school committee setting concrete, achievable, actionable goals. And I think that that's a refrain we've been hearing in this campaign, and I'm hoping that the new school committee will really take what has started as a strategic plan, that I respect the vision, and I think there are some really good outcomes that we're looking for, but I'd like to see some action steps put into place. And the interim superintendent, Marini, has done some of this, but I think the school committee needs to have more clarity. And I think there's hope that will set really a clear direction for what are the measurable outcomes that we want. For example, if you're talking about math achievement, we were just talking about how do you measure it. And MCAS is one criteria, but there are plenty of other assessments we could be using to say, are we getting our students from point A to point B? And if you're talking about, I think Margie was talking about being a good person, well, if that's one of the outcomes we want, you have to articulate what does that look like in a student, and how do you measure if the kids are moving from point A to point B? And so as a school committee, I'd like to see concrete, measurable goals that the whole community can rally around, and the superintendent comes in and unifies the district around those goals.